Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming to you from right here on my YouTube channel. I am, of course, your humble host, Mr. John Campea, and it is an honor and privilege, as it is every day, as all of us, a bunch of international friends, get together to talk about our favorite things in the world, movies and movie news, a little bit of television, a little stuff here and there. Oh my God, if only there was something for us to talk about today. I can't imagine what we're going to do to try to fill up the show today, but here to try to help me fill it out, a guy who I'm going to ask to turn down his headphones a little bit, is Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett. Robert, how you doing, sir?
John, I'm good. You know, I was going to call you and say that I wasn't going to come on today because there's clearly nothing to discuss.
Just nothing to talk about today. And also joining us as we sit here and pull a Jerry Seinfeld talking about nothing is Miss Ashley Whalen. Ashley, how you doing?
I'm great. Excited to get started today. But, there's no news, so I don't know what we're going to say.
Yeah, so hey, just to let you guys know, right at the top here, we do have a bunch of stuff to talk about today. We're going to talk about the Bryan Singer situation with Red Sonja. Denzel Washington's got a new cop action flick lined up. Tracking numbers for Shazam are out there. I think they could be a little bit bigger than they're expecting. Captain Marvel is heading for a second big weekend. And of course, the Avengers Endgame trailer has dropped. We're going to talk about that in depth. But I'm just going to let you guys know. Normally, I like to try to do big stories right near the front. A lot of people are going to be watching the show today to hear us talk about the Endgame trailer, and a lot of people join late. I don't want anybody to miss it, so we're going to talk about the Endgame trailer a little bit further towards the end of the show once we clear off a couple of the other topics, just to give you a heads up, because I don't want anybody to miss us all talking about Endgame, because that's what a lot of us are here for today. So let's get things started with this, guys. We're going to go to our main topics and questions today. How do we select our main topics and questions to cover here on the John Campea Show? Well, it's really rather simple. You guys select them by going to www.thejohncampeashow.com/contact. When you go to that webpage, you'll find a form there. You fill it out with your topic or question, send it on in, and maybe you will see your topic or question be a mainstay here on the John Campea Show. So with that down and out of the way, Ashley, what is our first email today?
All right. First one up is from Vilmar R. Hi, John. One of the movies I've really been looking forward to for a year is Red Sonja, all the way back to when Robert Rodriguez said he was doing one. Anyway, I like Bryan Singer's movies, so I was happy when they said he was doing it now. But with all the rumors and reports about him, it didn't really surprise me to read that he's not attached anymore. Apparently, it's because no distributor would pick up the movie if he was attached. Ouch. So, did they just get another director now or give up on the project?
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, a long time ago, years ago, Robert Rodriguez got up at Comic-Con and said he was doing a Red Sonja movie, and then that kind of died, and it's been talked about a lot about getting a new Red Sonja movie going. Then, a little while ago, Bryan Singer became attached to direct, of course, the X-Men director of Usual Suspects, Valkyrie, Bohemian Rhapsody, all that kind of stuff. He came on to direct. Now, we found out a little while ago that the release date had been pushed, and they didn't have a release date now anymore. They kind of pulled it and put it on the shelf for now. And now comes the report that Millennium Films has decided to part ways with Bryan Singer over the fact that no distributor was going to sign on to distribute the film with Bryan Singer attached. Now, here's the actual quote that comes from the report in the Hollywood Reporter. Lerner, that's Avi Lerner, the head of Millennium Films, made news recently when he hired Bryan Singer to direct a reboot of Red Sonja after Singer was accused in an Atlantic magazine article of sexually assaulting underage boys. Lerner dismissed the story as agenda-driven fake news, then walked the statement back. Eventually, he dropped Singer from the project because he was unable to secure a domestic distributor. Now, one of the things I should point out here is that this is going to be a discussion about Red Sonja. Where is Red Sonja? The fact of the matter is, with the Bryan Singer stuff, the reality is none of us were there. And we have somebody on the show today in the person of Robert who actually knows Bryan personally, and I'm not going to put him in the position of trying to talk about the situation in that depth, nor should we. I mean, the reality is this is a he said, she said kind of a situation. None of us really know the underlying facts, and I'm not going to try to refute or dispute any of your opinions that you may have at home about the situation. But we do need to talk about the Red Sonja situation. Robert, here's the thing. This is a project that's a recognizable IP that people have been talking about for a long time. We've had several directors come and go with it now. Is this an IP that you can even still move forward with? Is this something they just shelf right now? Or does Millennium move on and just try to get another director attached to it? What are the ups and downs here? How do you see this playing out?
Well, look, I think obviously knowing Bryan and also Ashley Edward Miller, the screenwriter, is a very good friend of mine. I was instrumental in getting his first feature film that he wrote, which was Agent Cody Banks, along with Zach Stentz, made. I was a producer on that film.
You produced that film.
Yeah, and I just don't like to see when anybody is out of work. And in the case of Bryan, he's been accused of things before, but they have always not panned out. And these things have dogged his career for a long time, but there has never been anything. He's never had any provable, nothing against him has ever really stuck. And I know him pretty well. And I know that, look, he already, I can't imagine not being at the Academy Awards and what happened over Bohemian Rhapsody, what that's like. But this movie, I think that this movie will one day see the light of day. I think now that we've seen Captain Marvel's on her way to $1 billion. We've seen Wonder Woman, female-led movies. Even Alita is hung in there. It's still making money. And I think that no one is at all fearful of a female-led fantasy superhero epic if it's done well. If you have, like I always say, you've got to have a great script, you've got to have great storytellers, and you've got to have a great lead in Red Sonja. And I think they're going to be able to make a good movie. I know that I've not read the script myself, but I'm sure Ashley knocked the script out of the park. So I have confidence that I think we'll see a Red Sonja movie. I really do.
I think the key thing that you kind of pinpointed there that I think is the most pivotal thing here is that right now there is a demand for female-led genre stuff. This is a growing thing right now. I mean, now that we had Wonder Woman succeed, we have Captain Marvel succeeding.
I'm wearing a Hunger Games t-shirt right now.
Hunger Games, we've got a Black Widow movie coming. Alita is in theaters right now. So, and it is a recognizable IP.
Yeah.
So I just think the studio is going to look at this and say, look, in this property, there is money to be made. There's money to be made here. So, yes, we've hit a few bumps in the road, whether it's going all the way back to Rodriguez or whether the current bumps are going through now. Yes, there have been bumps in the road, but lots of projects have had bumps in the road along the way, and eventually they can still make money, and there is money to be had here. There is an opportunity here. So I agree with you 100%, Robert. I think at some point here we're going to see this happen, and they're going to get this movie off the ground and running. With the new director, I don't anticipate we're going to hear anything in the next couple of months. They're probably going to lay low on it for a little bit, but I don't expect to wait 2 or 3 years before an announcement either. I think we'll find out something within the next year of them getting in a new director and moving forward as well. All right, with that down, let's move on to the second email today. What's next, Ashley?
Okay, next one up is Patreon supporter Dion Shepard. Hey, John and crew. So with the Captain Marvel opening weekend being a pleasant surprise, what are your estimations on Shazam's opening weekend? I've seen estimates from 40 to 60 million. Although it seems low, I think people are forgetting this film only had a $90 million budget. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so basically what happened is this. Shazam, of course, is coming out. By the way, they're doing early screenings like they did for Aquaman because they had some good success with that. They're having early screenings on March 23rd. That's next Saturday. I've already bought 6 tickets for it. So I'm going to be there watching that on March 23rd. I actually think I'm going to see it before then too, but I got my 6 tickets for that day. Anyway, around the beginning of February, the initial tracking numbers for Shazam came out, and the initial tracking numbers, again, this is going all the way back to the beginning of February, was between $40 and $60 million, which was that would be a healthy opening. For a project like this, a lot of people have no idea who Shazam is. He wasn't introduced in any of the other films, all that kind of stuff. And I think for Shazam, a 40 to 60 would be pretty good. Now, new tracking numbers have just come out. Variety is saying that right now they're tracking Shazam to open to $45 million on its opening weekend. So, Rob, the guy who called Captain Marvel making $150 million opening weekend, and you pretty much landed right on the button with that, you're hearing these tracking numbers for Shazam. First of all, what do you think it's actually going to do on its opening weekend? But secondly, what would you think it was a number which should hit that is a number they should be happy with? And those can be two different things. So what do you think on that?
Look, again, I think Hollywood is going to constantly underestimate these superhero films. Why they're still underestimating them, I don't know. But every time something comes along like Shazam, which clearly already has been a crowd pleaser, if only for the trailers. this movie is going to be, I think, much bigger than they anticipate. I would imagine it's going to open, I would say 75 million and up. I think 75 million is probably, look, they'd be happy with a $50 million opening because it's an unknown property. We've never seen a Shazam movie. So they would say, okay. And with the 90 million spend, that's very respectable. This movie's going to be huge. This movie's going to be, I don't think it's going to do $1 billion, but I'll bet you this movie does 650 and up. This is going to be like when we talked about the origin films of the MCU, like the Doctor Strange movie, like, well, of course, Black Panther making what, 700 million domestic. This movie is going to be gigantic because like Captain Marvel, where I think that the female audience was woefully underestimated in terms of turning out for this film, the family audience, this movie has the family audience, and parents are going to take their kids. I think it's going to be a 4-quadrant massive hit. I think this movie could do Jumanji numbers. I really do. And I think that the early tracking is just woefully lacking.
I agree and I disagree. And here's where I agree with you on. This movie is going to do better than expected opening weekend. The response that people have had to these trailers, even people who've never even heard of Shazam, whatever, are looking at these trailers, and these are, and some people think this is a dirty phrase. It's not. Crowd pleasing. These are crowd-pleasing trailers. That's a good thing. Some people like to treat crowd-pleasing as if that's ooh, you don't want to be crowd-pleased. That means bad. No, crowd-pleasing means good.
Yeah.
And these have been crowd-pleasing trailers. I think we've had nothing but good, solid, positive buzz about it. People have been excited about it. Now, is this going to be a $100 million opening film? No, probably not, but it doesn't need to be. See, I thought those initial tracking numbers when they came out in February of 40 to 60 million, I thought, hey, look, if it does open to 40, 60 million, fantastic. That's great. That puts it on the road to profitability because this was not a super expensive movie to make. Super, no pun intended. This was not a super expensive movie to make. They made this film for like 90 million bucks. This thing doesn't even really need to make 300 million in order to just break even. It doesn't even have to make 300 million. So if this thing can open to like 55, 60 million dollars, I think that puts it on a good path and something successful. But I completely agree with you, Rob. This movie is going to open bigger than that. I really do. Now, 75, 80, maybe, but I definitely think the 60 plus. I definitely think 60 plus is in the works. Now, as far as how will it do overall, like 650, 700, that's impossible to say until we see the movie. Like with Jumanji, I don't think any of us really had an inkling of just how big that movie would be until we saw it and we saw just how good it was. It was really entertaining. Audiences loved it, all that kind of stuff. Now, you and I, we both assume at this point, we're both thinking this is going to be a really good movie, but we don't know that. But so it's hard to kind of guess where I think this is going to end up overall, because that'll have a lot to do with, will the word of mouth be good? Will people go back for repeat business? And those are questions we can't answer until we see it. But I think it's going to get off to a good start. I think it's going to be bigger than expected. And I think DC's got themselves another winner. And I think this movie looks fantastic. I mean, I just, the 23rd cannot hear. Next Saturday, folks, check to see if there's still tickets available, because it's probably playing in a theater near you as early as next Saturday. Okay, Ashley, let's move on here. What is our next email today?
All right, moving on to Thomas Story. The love you have for Russell Crowe is the same way I feel about Denzel Washington. I almost feel like he's so famous that people take for granted just how good he is. I was wondering if you saw that he just signed up to be in a new cop thriller called Little Things. I love him when he plays a cop. Anyway, do you know much about it, and what are your thoughts? Thanks.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. Whenever Denzel Washington is going to be in something, that demands your attention. Now, for those of you who don't know what he was talking about in the email here, he has signed up to be in this new movie called Little Things. Here's the actual report from Variety. It says this: the story for the movie Little Things follows a burned out Kern County deputy sheriff named Deke, played by Denzel Washington, who teams with a crack LASD detective, Baxter, to reel in a wily serial killer. Deke's nose for the quote-unquote little things proves eerily accurate, but his willingness to circumvent the rules embroils Baxter in a soul-shattering dilemma. Ooh, a cop tracking a serial killer who works outside the rules. Never heard of that before, but it's Denzel Washington doing it, so I'm all for it. Anyway, Robert, you're hearing about this movie. Does this initially get you excited for it? Are you looking forward to this?
Well, look, I feel the same way about. I'm a huge Denzel Washington fan. I mean, I love everything about him. I love everything that he does. He's 64 years old, and I mean, it's incredible that his movies he did with Tony Scott, with whether it was Crimson Tide or Man on Fire. Even I have a soft spot for Deja Vu. I mean, I love Denzel Washington. And I do love Russell Crowe as well. They're making a great 6-scale figure of Maximus from Gladiator this year, which is fantastic because I've got 2 bootleg figures in the past. But Denzel is I love the fact that he's allowing himself, rather than trying to cling to some action star persona, he did things like Fences that he directed.
Yep.
And this is, he's allowing himself to play a grizzled, older, properly aged, burnt out cop up in Kern County. Kern County Ashley was just in Kern County. And I think that it's great that he's doing this. And I'm sure when he does that hangdog persona of his that he's been doing lately, I love it. I can't wait.
I was going to say, and there was a serial killer last time I was in Kern County. True story. I was camping and I was hanging out with my friends, and one of the campsite ladies came over and she's like, "Hey girls," and we thought she was going to say be quiet, and she's like, "Just so you know, someone escaped from the local prison and there's a killer on the campsite." And I was like,
have a nice
what?
day.
Yeah, and then she left, and then me and my friend were just like, and then she came back an hour later and she says, "Okay, we think that he left, but he is in camouflage suit." And then we went to a little diner the next morning and we saw all over the paper. I was like, maybe he wasn't like so violent, but he kidnapped 2 prison guards and killed someone. So, yeah,
wow.
I mean, maybe this is based off of that experience of mine.
Did your friend come home with you?
By the Tourism Board of San Francisco.
I know. Oh my gosh.
All right. With that down, let's move on here. What's our next email today?
Next one is from Taylor Vasiletti. Hello, movie warriors. I just read on Variety that they're projecting Captain Marvel will have a $70 to $85 million second weekend. Isn't that a little optimistic? Generally, movies like these will drop like 60% or more with massive openings like Captain Marvel had. Could it really only drop 50%? Is that even possible? Thanks for the great show.
Yeah, I have a hard time believing that. Like 70, maybe, because 70 would represent, I'm not going to try to do all the math, but I'm going to guess 70 would probably represent something like a 55% drop or something like that. So 70 million, maybe. Yeah, I think 85% is overly optimistic. I think, because now you're talking about a 40-something% drop, and generally speaking, there are exceptions, but generally speaking, when you get big, massive openings, you have more significant drop-off because most people have already gone to see it. I mean, we saw that with Avengers Infinity War. We'll see that with others. So I think 70 tops. I think 70, like I expect somewhere between a 55 and a 65% drop. I think that would be acceptable. I think that would be a good range for that. So I think, yeah, that 85 thing might be a little bit too optimistic. But Rob, you have been the patron saint of optimism when it comes to Captain Marvel. What do you think the second weekend's going to do?
Well, I got to point out that it's having a massive midweek box office gross. It grossed $11 million on Monday. This is domestic. Right. It grossed $14 million on Tuesday. The current numbers, as reported by Box Office Mojo, worldwide, Captain Marvel has made $541,661,315. Now, I haven't heard the Wednesday numbers, but Thursday, Friday, I think what this movie has is it has our female audience.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think that the female audience that might not have been interested in going the first weekend have heard from their friends and colleagues and brothers and their geek friends that, hey, you're going to really you're going to really enjoy this. So I think there is going to be a much larger opening weekend or a second weekend for this film than is anticipated, and they're already tracking that. But I think Captain Marvel is going to sail over 300 million domestic this weekend, if not, by it's at 179,061,315 domestic already. It'll be over by Thursday, probably yesterday and today, it could be potentially over 200 million. So I think this is I think.
But what's it going to make? What's it going to make next weekend? Come on.
I'll give it a 75 million.
70, that's a little above my max, but it's comfortable range. So, but you agree 85 might be a little bit too optimistic at this point.
Might be a little too optimistic, but again, it depends on this audience. I mean, I've seen this movie 3 times. I normally wouldn't have seen this movie 3 times by now, but I saw it 3 times.
Yeah, I've only seen it twice so far. I think I might try to sneak out to see it again later today if I can. All right, let's move on now to the last email today. Ashley, what's our final email today?
Last one is from Hannah. Hi. News just came out that Marvel's Shang-Chi movie has found its director in Destin Daniel Cretton. I loved Short Term 12 just like everyone else, but nothing else of his after that. What are your thoughts on this pairing?
I love it. And one of the main reasons that I love it so much is because of who he is. And because of who he is, Short Term 12. Short Term 12 is a fantastic film that a lot of cinephiles have talked about for years since it came out. I can't remember if it came out 2012, 2013, one of those 2 years. Who, by the way, the film starred 2 future Academy Award winners in Brie Larson, also connected to the MCU, obviously, and Rami Malek from Bohemian Rhapsody, and Lakeith Steinfeld was in it as well. And I love him from Atlanta, and he's been great in just about everything he's done. And then he did another film that I quite like, not as much as Short Term 12, but he did another film I enjoy quite a bit called The Glass Castle that also starred Brie Larson and Woody Harrelson, and that one was a really nice thing too. This is a dude who knows how to direct really great narrative and characters. And if you watch those 2 films, he is a director who knows how to get great performances out of his actors. Those are the 2 most important things for any director. So you bring a guy like that into the MCU, and it's fabulous. And listen, it's probably a pretty wise decision. Rob, look, did Marvel have to get an Asian director to direct a Shang-Chi movie? Well, maybe they didn't have to, but it's a pretty good idea. When it's your first time out of the gate, this is going to be your first film in your franchise that has an Asian lead, and it's going to have majority, from what we're hearing in reports, it's going to have a majority of Asian characters. It's probably not a bad idea to have the first one you do out of the gate with an Asian director who's got a better sense of the sensibilities of the characters they're going to be dealing with, much like it was a really good idea for their first time out of the gate doing an African-American lead character, going out and getting a director, a great director, like Ryan Coogler. And by the way, keep this in mind. They didn't just reach into some Walmart bargain bin and pull out any Asian-born director. They pulled out the director of Short Term 12 in Glass Castle. This guy knows how to direct. I think it's a great choice. I think it's a great move. Rob, how do you feel about it?
Well, I think it's, first of all, it's an incredible, it continues a streak. Kevin Feige is doing something. There's so many things that the Marvel Cinematic Universe is doing that's unprecedented. But Marvel Studios has a track record now of plucking indie directors that do not have a track record making franchise properties for studios. They go and they pick these indie directors who, in the best possible way, they want to prove themselves. They want to step up to the next level. But they've already shown that what do all of these, whether it's James Gunn, the Russo brothers, remember they had an indie
Nobody
feature.
knew who they were. Nobody knew.
But they had an indie feature under their belt.
Peyton Reed with Ant-Man.
The reason that these movies, the reason the Marvel Cinematic Universe works so well is character. We love these people. And the way that they're directed, they pick the great actors. They've picked these James Gunn, these indie sensibilities that what they want to do first and foremost is they're practicing my rule, never put your universe before your characters. And they find the best indie directors, indie sensibility. They people all want to prove themselves. They're doing what Kevin Feige is doing what any great leader does. You pick those people that you see they have innate raw talent, and you give those people an opportunity to flourish with a support system that will catch them if they happen to fall, which they don't. Everyone is stepping up to the plate, and what they're doing is fantastic. And look, you have to hire if you're having a cast of people. I love Shang-Chi. I love the Doug Mensch run. the comic. You can get them collected in Marvel Omnibus form. They're a lot of fun. You know, they're James Bond meets martial arts, kind of, with a little bit of superhero stuff sprinkled in later. But I love this idea. I hope he teams up with Natasha Romanoff, with Black Widow. I think you have to have people of whatever your ethnicity of your lead is. It's better to have directors that have some insight into that, because that's what gives the flavor. You know, it's the little things that make people from our various cultures. It's the way people move, the way people talk, the way people relate to their parents, and having that kind of insight helps you bring those subtle character traits out that just make the movies better. And if they hired some, you know, white dude with an action track record, you would get something that's going to be more generic. I think this just continues a streak. I mean, Marvel, no one is ever going to give credit where credit is due, but Marvel and what they're doing has never been done in Hollywood, and they just keep knocking it out of the park.
Yeah, and look, and I believe that, look, as Marvel makes more MCU films with black lead characters, and as they make more female-led films, and as they make more Asian-led films, you'll get to a point, no, that you don't need to have a black director direct the 7th black lead film that you have, or an Asian director to direct the 7th Asian film you have. I just think it's a good thing coming out of the gate. It seems like to be a very smart strategic thing to do if you want to capture the essence of that, to start out of the gate with that and set the track down. Because I was in a little bit of a debate with somebody about 20 minutes before we started the show today online. It's like, well, why do they have to go out and get an Asian director to do this? I'm like, that's funny. I didn't hear you saying, why did they have to get a white director to do Ant-Man when they got Peyton Reed? I didn't hear anybody saying that, so why are we saying that here? But at any rate, I don't think this means that, you know, Captain Marvel 3 has to have a female director, or that Black Panther 4 has to have a black director, or anything, or that Iron Man 17 has to have a white male lead director.
Well,
no, not at all. I just think this seems smart for their first time out of the gate.
But I also think that, you know what's going to happen? It's because they have Asian directors that we're going to get a whole new crop of Asian kids, boys and girls, that think, I can be a film director. I can grow up and direct a franchise property film like this. I mean, the more women directors, the more black directors, the more Asian directors we get in Hollywood making things, it only means we're going to get more perspective, more vibrance, different opinions, and better movies in the long run. The more people that we get into work, the better off we are. And this idea that there's something wrong with this is just so backwards and wrong-headed. You can never do. Look, my favorite director, Stanley Kubrick, used to ask, he'd send his assistant around every morning and ask every one of his lead crew members, what ideas do you have today? He'd want to hear everyone's ideas to make sure that they were going to make the best the best they could that day. And the more opinions we have in the conversation, the more people making movies, the more different various people that we have, we're just going to get better film and better entertainment. We win in the end.
Everybody wins. All right. With all the email stuff out of the way now, guys, we got one more main topic to talk about here today. And I trust we're all settled in and buckled down. Robert, I had a theory. It was a solid theory. It was a well-reasoned theory. And that theory was, well, since it looks like tickets are going to go on sale on April 2nd for Avengers Endgame, it seems to reason that our next Endgame trailer will in fact be April 2nd. That was my theory. I didn't know that. Nobody told me that. I was just speculating as a fan like everybody else. Well, that theory this morning got blown out of the water. As about 5 minutes after I opened my eyes this morning, I get up about 5 every day to start working on the John Campea Show. Open my eyes and bing! Oh, what's this? New Endgame trailer. I'm sorry, I thought that said new Endgame trailer. Let me rub my eyes. Yep, new Endgame trailer. Click. And we dove in, folks, and we watched the Endgame trailer. All three of us have sat down and watched that Endgame trailer this morning. Now, I hopped on and made a quick video of my initial thoughts. Just initially, I put up at like 5:30 this morning. There's my quick initial thoughts on the film, and I told everybody we'd go more in depth here. But before I get all your guys' opinions on this, let me give you some of what I consider to be some of the highlight moments of this Endgame trailer here today, okay? And first of all, let me start by saying this. If this was a trailer for almost any other movie, I would say this is a bad trailer. I would say it's a bad trailer. But this trailer isn't to any other movie. This is a trailer that is specifically designed from its DNA to be a trailer specifically, not from any pre-cut, cookie-cutter form, step and repeat. but is specifically made for this movie with the context that the MCU is in right now. And as such, it was great. Did it do a lot to sway people who were on the fence? Moreover, no, probably not. I'll give
On the
it that.
fence for what?
Well, I mean, hey, look, not everybody goes to see the Avengers movies. Not everybody's into these movies. We know this. Otherwise, we can never guess that they could make more money at the box office, right? Because if everybody loved them, they'd already see them already. Does this movie take somebody who's on the fence about Avengers and push them over? No, probably not. But I've got another theory about that I'll reveal in a second. But does it amp up the excitement for those of us who are there? I think it was beautifully designed to do that, and I think it did a very good job of that. And I found myself watching this trailer as many times as I could before I had to get back to getting the show ready today. Here's some of the highlights to me. Just some of the highlights. Oh my God! Hawkeye with his daughter. Instant cry. Hit the cry button, everybody. The tears are going to flow in the movie theaters when this freaking movie comes out, because they're going to show us, look at that Jin. Look how proud that papa is. Look how happy. I've got my daughter. Life is good. Nothing bad can ever happen. I am never going to let anything bad happen to this little girl because I'm her dad and I'm going to protect her. Poof, she's going to be gone. My God, look at that. Instantly, you can just feel the emotion of this thing. And you know what? I got a theory. Here's my theory. Listen to my theory, everybody. I think this is your opening scene of the movie. I think that shot is your opening scene of the movie. I think it's opening up with Texas or wherever his stupid farm is. I mean, Texas, blah, blah. It's going to be this warm showing how great life is for Hawkeye, hugging his kids, teaching her how to shoot bow and arrow for the Hunger Games later on. All this kind of stuff. And then she's going to turn to dust in his arms. And I think that's how this movie starts. But anyway, that's for another time. Another great shot here is, I love this. We see Scott walking the streets. Clearly, he's just gotten out of the quantum realm. He's disoriented. He's confused. He's whatever. And he's seeing a very different world. Look at all the overgrowth, too. This is a world that's gone to hell. He's confused, all that kind of stuff. Great money shot here with Rocket on War Machine's shoulder. And just got this, I'm looking forward to killing things look on Rocket's face. I think that's amazing. Of course, and we'll go into more detail on this as we go, but oh well, does Tony get back? Apparently he does. Him and Nebula get back, apparently, and they're all decked out in what I thought at first was kind of like astronaut suits, that maybe they're going into space, but they look a lot like quantum realm suits. So there's that as well. Fabulous moment in the trailer when Thor, arguably the two most powerful characters in the MCU, Thor and Captain Marvel, come face to face. And you got Stormbreaker there. That was a great moment. But of course, because I'm a Captain America guy, best shot of the movie to me. Best shot of the trailer, I should see. Right there. Cap, whatever it takes. That's the shot of the trailer to me. But anyway, I'm getting a little bit of an erection here talking about all this. But let me start with you, Ashley, because you just saw this trailer. Saw this trailer. What did you think about it as you were watching it?
I got the chills at the very end. I literally had chills in my arm when they were just marching and saying whatever it takes. I thought it was really well done. It got me hyped for the movie to come out even further. I do like what you were saying, though, that if I haven't seen a couple of the other movies, then like my friends might see that trailer and they might be like, well, now I'm even more intimidated to go to see this movie because I don't have the backstory at all. But for people that know the story, which is majority, then it gets you more excited. So I thought it was a successful, awesome, great trailer, and I can't wait.
Yeah, I think we're pretty strong. By the way, I'm just going to mention this. A Joker trailer just dropped. So we don't have time to watch that right now. I'll probably once the show is done, I'll probably watch the trailer and put up a review of that trailer in just a bit. But I'm very excited to watch the Joker trailer. Anyway, Robert, you've been sitting very patiently, very quietly, waiting to talk about this little trailer dropped here today. Your thoughts and anything you want to break down, those pictures, the shots, whatever. Your initial thoughts of this Avengers Endgame trailer.
Well, first of all, I want to point out, you know me, since you and I have been doing the show together for over 6 months now, and not just the John Campea Show, but the Weekly Hero, I was talking about how they don't need to show us these. They don't need to even have a trailer. And you were saying, no, you can't. That's idiotic. They have to put out trailers.
Of course they do.
Well, I think we were both right in a sense. Because I said the reason I didn't want to see a trailer was because I didn't want to know what was going to happen. Now they've put out 3 trailers for Endgame, and we don't know what's going to happen. I mean, in this trailer, we do know that at some point, Rhodey and Rocket are going to team up. and have an action scene. We know that Stark and Nebula get back to Earth, which was not something we probably didn't think was going to happen.
Right. No,
we
no
know that
surprise,
Scott Lang gets out of the quantum realm. You know, we know that a lot of people on the Earth got dusted, half of them, and a lot of our characters are sad about it. Nothing that they have told us has revealed one shred of the plot of this movie. I think we've got the best of both worlds. I think the marketing for this film has been incredible because it's like when you're first making out with the girl you most wanted to make out with in high school, you know, and time bends and you've been kissing for like what seems like 5 minutes, but it's been 4 hours. That's kind of like the marketing of this movie. They figured out a way to bottle that feeling when you first started making out with girls, whenever, how old you were, and how time would bend. And they have done this to us 3 times now. They haven't told us anything. And I don't think in my life I have ever been so excited or so jazzed or so just on the edge of my seat going, what the hell is going to happen in this movie? And we only have to wait till April 26th. I'm deliriously excited about this. And by the way, if you've followed the release of the toys for this movie, those are quantum realm suits, and everybody's going in the quantum realm together, presumably to travel through time or whatever. We don't know if Thanos is even in this movie. You know, well, I mean, they've shown us the Scarecrow.
I'm glad you brought that up because here's something interesting here, and I'll just very sloppily overlay
he's not on the
here.
poster, and everybody else who wasn't dust. Oh, he's on. Oh, he's right.
Yeah. But here's the interesting thing, though.
But is that his memory or him?
Well, that's the thing. Like, look at him. It's almost like the art. Now, this is us like reading way too much into it. Okay, just let me admit that. Right, this is us reading way too much into this. But it's almost like it's the shadow of.
That's
Thanos,
what I thought. That's what I mean.
And what he has done is like kind of looming over everybody and everything. I don't think that this poster definitively tells us that Thanos is the villain of the movie.
That's what I mean. I mean, he's the only character that didn't get dusted who he loomed large over all of the marketing of Infinity War. And now he's just in the background in the shadow. Like you said, maybe the situation, there is no villain in this movie. And maybe it's the situation. Maybe it's the ticking clock. It's like the movie Volcano. Volcano's going to blow up, and it's Tommy Lee Jones and Anne Heche going to save everybody they need to save. I mean, I look at this. I just can't believe that we know. Like we talked about, they're going to release the Bang trailer. When are they going to give us the Big Bang trailer? This is what the MCU does. The reason the MCU is so successful is because it's always character. They don't have to show us action scenes. They can show us Carol Danvers and Thor standing in front of each other, and all he does is summon Stormbreaker, and we're like salivating over it because we love these people. We love these people. It's the characters. I mean, like you get excited. Hawkeye's showing his daughter how to shoot a bow and arrow, and she's gonna get dusted, and we're gonna sit there and we even know it's gonna happen. She looks like a little Emily Portman there, and she's gonna get dusted, and we're all gonna be crying our eyes out. And
Cry time.
I mean, it's and I love that shot. They've shown it in another trailer of Ellis Island in New York, the Statue of Liberty, surrounded by all the derelict boats or whatever. I mean, why are all those boats out there at Ellis Island? Were they going there for hope or something? I don't know. Does Captain America make some speech to rally America? I don't know. But man, I can't wait to see this movie. It's crazy how a middle-aged dude could be so excited for this.
I'll tell you what. By the way, I want to point something out too here. What's interesting about this shot is that there is no Captain Marvel or Thor in this particular scene where they're all marching on. That could be, Captain Marvel could be with Thor out looking for Thanos. I mean, that might be a part of it, all that kind of stuff. But I'll tell you, here's the thing. This is my thought here, guys. I believe that we are getting another trailer. I believe we're getting another trailer. Nobody's told me this. I have no insider information. I don't know that this is real. This is just me speculating. I believe we are getting another trailer because I believe the tickets for this thing are going to go on sale on April 2nd. And I believe they are still going to give us that boom trailer. I believe they're still going to give us that boom trailer. And I think they're going to release that trailer that ends with the words, tickets on sale now. And I believe we're going to get that. And if they don't, Fine. That's fine. But I really do think they are, because we are still like 3 weeks from that April 2nd thing. We're 3 weeks from that. That puts us about 3 weeks out from the official release. There's still time to put out one more trailer, because there's a lot of things we still haven't seen here. I know a lot of people talk about the fact there's no sign of Hulk. There's no sign. And Hulk's going to play a role in this movie. From listening to the Russo brothers commentary on Infinity War, Hulk is going to have something to do in this movie. I still think we're getting another one. But even if we don't, this trailer is delivering a message for an MCU movie that they've never really tried to rest their hat on as far as the message we're sending about a movie, and that's the drama. And this trailer was all about the drama. Yes, we got a couple of great shots. Ant-Man's got a little bit of an action shot. The Rocket looks like he's ready to shoot something. Cap's obviously in the middle of a big fight. But these are just brief moments. The rest of it is the drama of the journey that Thor has taken. The trailer is about the drama that Tony has gone through and the journey he has taken to get to this point. And I thought there was a really neat little artistic effect that they used in flashback scenes from other movies. They had black and white with only the red color coming through. I don't know if you've noticed that, but
I did. Like, they Schindler's listed it.
Yeah, but like flashbacks, like this is clearly a flashback, but it's not a flashback from another movie, so it was just straight color. But like flashback of Thor standing with Odin, his red cape is the only thing in color. Iron Man, a flashback to Thing, it's just the red is in there. And they did that. I thought that was a really neat artistic decision to denote something that's past, but also putting a little bit of a creative flair to it. I like that a lot. There's so much here to get excited about. And by the way, guys, I'm going to let you guys know right now, with this new trailer come new theories. At 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time today, we're going to be doing a new Avengers Endgame theories live chat. Now that the new trailer is here, now we've probably altered, reinforced, maybe disproved some of our theories. We're going to have at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time today a live chat just dedicated to that. If you guys are interested in that, make sure you come back to the channel and join us at that time. So, listen, guys, bottom line is we're excited about this trailer. We're going to go over to live questions here in just a second. I'm sure a ton of you guys want to give your thoughts, opinions, theories about this or any of the other stories we talked about. So we're going to talk a little bit more Avengers Endgame in just a second. But before we get to the live questions here, there's a few other things going on in the world of movie news that I want to make sure you guys are caught up on. So that's why we put together this little segment we call the Movie News Feed. Check this out. First up, Jessica Chastain and her production company, Freckle Films, has signed on to develop an upcoming feature film, The Honeymoon, based on the novel The Honeymoon, a novel of George Eliot. From coming soon, the book recounts Eliot's honeymoon in Venice in June 1880, after her marriage to a much younger man named John Walter Cross. Still recovering from the death of her longtime companion, George Henry Lewis, she ponders questions about the decline of not only her physical appearance, but the larger prospect of the loneliness that she feared awaited her. Chastain is a 2-time Academy Award-nominated actress who can next be seen in X-Men: Dark Phoenix. Next up, as most of you know, Kevin Smith is currently shooting his next Jay and Silent Bob movie, and they've added another returning cast member in the form of Shannon Elizabeth. Smith took to his Instagram account to announce her return with the following: "And justice for all. It didn't feel like a true sequel until Shannon Elizabeth stepped onto the set of Jay and Silent Bob reboot. But it's almost like she stepped out of a box that was sealed when we wrapped Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, because Shannon hasn't aged at all. Time marches on, and it's marched all over my face and Jay's face, but not Shannon's." Next up, it looks like the producer and writer team behind the Tom Hanks film Sully, I love that film, are rejoining forces for a new feature film project called Snow Dragon. Producer Alan Stewart and writer Tom Komarnarki are developing the project based on a true story. From Variety, the movie is the untold true story of a Chinese icebreaker on a scientific expedition that heroically rescued a group of 74 Australian, British, and Russian nationals on a chartered Russian vessel, which had become trapped in the Antarctic ice. There isn't any word right now on a potential studio partner or a release date. Stewart also produced the 2014 film Sin City: A Dame to Kill For. Next up, the comedy of failure that is MoviePass just keeps right on rolling. As if the company wasn't already a joke with its massive losses and questionable business practices, news has now come out that MoviePass incorrectly reported its quote-unquote real losses. The company blames a quote-unquote weakness in their financial reporting. The bottom line is this, that MoviePass lost over $147 million in 2018 and generated less revenue than it had reported. The result is the company now admitting that the quarterly numbers should no longer be relied upon, noting they have not yet completed a review of their accounting. From Variety, one main culprit was the erroneous recognition of up to $5.9 million in revenue derived from certain MoviePass subscriptions that had been suspended due to changes made to the MoviePass subscription service that had not yet been consented to by the applicable subscribers. These errors resulted in an understatement of the net losses by approximately $6.6 million. But hey, they're still in business, right? And finally, with CW's The Flash heading towards the end of its 5th season, it looks like there's going to be a major shakeup heading into season 6 behind the cameras. According to The Hollywood Reporter, showrunner Todd Helbing will step down at the end of the current 5th season to focus on development for The Flash's producers, Warner Brothers Television. Eric Wallace, who has been with the Grant Gustin DC Comics drama as a co-executive producer since season 4, will take over as the showrunner, starting with the previously announced 6th season. How or if this change of the guard will alter the texture of the show is something we'll just have to wait until next season to find out. But man, I do love this show. And that'll do it for today's installment of the Movie News Feed. And now you are all caught up to date with all of the other stuff going on in the world of movie news. So now what we're going to do, as we like to do here on the John Campea Show every day, is take a little time to go to some live questions. I can't imagine what you guys want to talk about, but hey, let's find out anyway. Ashley, get things started here. What do people want to talk about?
Shockingly. Anthony DeRiso, what do you think is the significance of the red during the black and white scenes? Also, is April 2nd definitely when tickets go on sale?
No. Is it definite? No. There was a report that came out on Reddit about, and you know, Reddit? Yes, but it was somebody taking a picture of a form that during my time at AMC, it looked legit. It looked legit to me, and I saw a lot of these things when I was at AMC. So I don't know 100% for sure that it's legit, but it looked legit, and it suggested that the tickets are going to be going on sale on April 2nd. So that's that. As far as, no Rocket, no Captain Marvel, no Thor in suits, could say a lot. All right, what's next?
Charles A. got Shazam tickets for March 23rd when our Avengers going on sale, and is there any chance we might get an early screening of this movie?
I don't know if there's going to be an early screening. I mean, one thing I know for sure is that I'm going to CinemaCon, and Robert may be coming to CinemaCon too. And I believe there's a chance, and that's on April 1st through 4th, and it's going to be held in Las Vegas. I don't know this for sure, I believe they're going to show us Avengers Endgame at CinemaCon. Marvel has shown a lot of their movies in advance at CinemaCon. We've got all the movie theater owners from across North America are going to be there. I think they're going to want to show this thing off a lot. And I got a feeling we're going to see it then. As far as an early screening, I don't think so. I think there's just too many spoilers in this thing. I think there's just way too much. I don't think they're going to risk public screenings of it. I don't know that for sure, but that's my guess. All right, what's next?
Ant Banks 1984, do you think Captain Marvel will get a boost this weekend by showing her at the end of the Endgame trailer?
I don't know how much of a boost they're going to get. Because they didn't show her doing a lot. Like, they didn't show her kicking ass. They didn't show her doing all that stuff. I'm certain it can't hurt, but how much of it'll help, I'm not really sure. All right, what's next?
Zachary Buckler, Endgame, showing so much and yet so little.
Yes.
True. It's true. Rob, your thoughts on that?
But it's great. I think it's great. It's fantastic that we don't know. I mean, isn't it great to have a movie in this day and age when we're soaked with information all day long that we want to know something, anything more? Doesn't it just, the fact that they're just stringing us along, they're expertly playing us, we're all just a grand piano, and Kevin Feige and his marketing people are just pressing our little ivory keys and making us jump like monkeys? It's great.
It's certainly possible. And Ashley, I think you and I are on different places. What's the next question that you have lined up there?
From Alpha?
I can't find Alpha anywhere here. What is the timestamp on the question from Alpha?
6:41 a.m.
Okay, so I think we skipped over a bunch of questions.
Oh, did it
but
skip?
but we will get back. Let me see if I can find the one because I want to make sure. There's Alpha right there. So you know what? Let's go back to the beginning here and get caught up to where Alpha was. So let's see. We did hear no Thor and Captain Marvel in the suits, right? And then in the hangar, Tony is right behind Steve. Yes, he is. Technovine writes, a Captain Marvel versus Thor fight would be fun. Oh, that would be fun. Oh, for sure it would be fun. I don't think that's what they're doing, though. I don't think they're going to have Thor and Captain Marvel fight, but that's a fight I would love to see. Next one up is Technovine. More problems to face aside from Thanos in this movie. Absolutely there are. There are definitely more problems than just Thanos for them to face in this flick. And I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say right now what those problems are going to be. It's difficult to say what those problems are going to be, but that's what we're all waiting to find out. Is it going to be Thanos or is it going to be something else? We're just going to have to wait to find out. Brandon Entwistle writes, good day, team. What happened to the Weekly Hero? Hey, we were supposed to bring the Weekly Hero back this month, at the beginning of this month. But the fact of the matter is, Robert and I have both individually been so ridiculously busy. Rob's working on a film, both a feature-length film and a short film he's been wrapping up. I've been working like crazy on stuff. Don't worry, the Weekly Hero is coming back. And I know it said it was going to come back at the beginning of March, but it is coming back. Don't you worry, and it's going to be soon. It's going to be soon. Just hang tough. Cameron Peterson writes, it felt like a recap trailer. What are they fighting? It did feel a little bit like a recap trailer, but a recap trailer, that's why I said, I think for almost any other movie, this was a bad trailer. But for a movie that's kind of becoming the cap on a 10-year story, a little bit of a recap trailer is actually very appropriate and very effective on an emotional level. So we still don't know what they're fighting, but I'm sure we're going to find out soon enough. All right, Richard Walton writes, John, you are great. Well, I can't disagree. Waking up so early just for us and the Avengers. So what's your weird theory that you think has at least a chance of happening? Well, I mean, I'd like to say that I got up just for the Avengers trailer, but I get up at 5 every day to start working on the show. So it was actually nothing special. But my weird theory, that has a chance. I honestly don't know. I don't know that I have any weird theories about what can, and everybody's got some far out theories. Those are the most fun ones to have. I don't know that I have any right now or right yet that actually I would think has a legitimate chance of working out and being true. Other than Thanos plays a very small part in this movie. That's the one kind of theory I have that a lot of people disagree with, and I'm probably wrong. I'm just saying. But that one theory that there's very little Thanos in this movie is the one theory that I think may have a chance of actually working out and being true. Charles A. writes, your trailer review woke me up early this morning. Thanks, John. My pleasure, man. My pleasure. I'm glad. Hey, that's something worth getting up for, right? That Avengers Endgame trailer is definitely something worth waking up for. Matthew Alvis writes, surprised we haven't seen Thanos. Could they be hiding something? My theory is he is killed early, but reappears when the Avengers go back in time. I mean, that's a possibility. Again, that kind of ties in, Matthew, with what I was saying is my weird little theory that I don't know has any possibility of being true, which is that Thanos doesn't play much of a role in this thing at all. That the shadow of Thanos and the shadow of what he has done may hang and loom very heavy over it, but that might be it. Or maybe he plays a major role. Or maybe, as Robert suggests, maybe Kang the Conqueror gets in there. Or maybe there's a lot of different possibilities, but that's certainly one that I'm holding on to. I'm Upset writes, better villain, Thanos, Darth Vader, or the New York Giants GM? First of all, Darth Vader's the greatest villain in cinematic history. As far as the New York Giants GM, I don't know, man. They had Odell Beckham. I know people are upset in New York that they traded him, but they had him and they were losing. So what's the worst that can happen? Your team sucked with him. I mean, this is a team that can be better, so I really don't mind. Plus, they built for the future, and they weren't winning with them, so why not trade them and get something for them? Luke1234 writes, notice Captain Marvel always has her fists clenched. I didn't notice that. I'll have to go back. You've just given me an excuse, Luke, to go back and watch the trailer again to look for that. Brandon Entwistle writes, thoughts on 1991's Thelma and Louise? Oh, it's iconic. It's classic. It's a great film. It's also a film that really stands up. It's a film that actually really stands up. Michael Morgan writes, The use of old film in black and white with red was a nice touch. I completely agree. That's something I mentioned a little bit earlier, that in using that to denote what is a flashback from older films while having that extra little artistic flair in there, I like that a lot. I don't know. A lot of people I see speculating online already. What is the deeper meaning of that? I don't know that it necessarily has any deeper meaning. It may not, but I thought it was a nice touch. Angry Irish Benjamin writes, why did you do that? We're in the end game now. And true, we are in the end game now. And I think one of the things they're going to start to unwrap for us a lot is that statement, Benjamin, that Doctor Strange made in Infinity War about the futures, about the possibilities of the outcomes, about that he had to. There was no other way. Remember, Strange says that there was no other way. We're in the end game now. Let's pay close attention to that. Luke 1, 2, 3, 4. 28 years later, the opening of T2 still holds up. Dude, that is one of the most shocking. I remember that scene, when the nuclear blast goes off and everything, just being traumatized, in the theater, seeing that. You're absolutely right. That, like, no matter how many years later it is, that is a thing that still holds up. All right. Ant Banks in 1984 writes, I think, did you read this one, Ashley? I think they're definitely not giving away too much in the Endgame marketing. No, they are definitely not. I mean, I've already seen some people upset online. Why did they show us Nebula and Tony with everybody? Now we know they get back. Well, come on. Who didn't know they were coming back? We all knew. They weren't just going to open the movie. Oh, we're in space and I'm running out of air. Oh, no. And then they die. Like, we all knew that wasn't going to happen, right? Corey Harper writes, still no Thanos. Very interesting. Hashtag Kang. Hey, listen, seriously. I don't think they're just hiding Thanos. Look, the reality is he's probably a major character in the film. That's the likelihood. But I really believe that there is a strong chance that he is not a major character in this film, that just the shadow of what he has done hangs over the film. And I don't know that he's going to play a major role in it. I really don't. I think maybe Thor goes to find him on that planet that he retired on early in the film, and then we move on from that and we get on to other things. Whether that means Kang, whether that means, I don't know. I don't know what the other possibilities are, but whether it means something else or not, we're going to find out soon. Corey Harper writes, still no Thanos. Oh, that was Corey. Sorry about that. Anthony.
And now you're caught up.
And now we're caught up? Yep. Okay.
Go down to Alpha.
Okay, so once we get down to Alpha, we're caught up.
Yes.
Okay, so let me keep. Oh, so what do we think is significant? Oh, we didn't answer this one, though, yet, right? Anthony DeRizo, we didn't answer this one yet?
That was the first one.
That was the first one. Okay, great. Then let's jump down to Alpha. Let's jump down to Alpha now. Great, we're back on track. Okay, where are we at here?
All right, Alpha says Thor to other Avengers. Dibs on the new girl.
Yeah, he did kind of have that smirky smile, didn't he? Like he did kind of have that smirky smile on him. This plus he goes, I like her. And then there's a pause, and then he gives that big kind of grin. I dug that shot. I thought that shot was good. You know what's really cool, Rob? It's the little details. When he reaches out his hand and calls Stormbreaker back to his hand, the little details is what matter. They even did the little whiff of her hair at that point.
I know.
It's those little details that really sell visual effects to me, you know? All right.
Well, I like the fact that she doesn't flinch. When Stormbreaker flies, she just doesn't flinch at all. And then she just gives a wry little smile, which in a small way shows just how powerful she really is. Yeah. She's not scared of Stormbreaker.
Today, now, if you'd ask me what two Avengers would I love to see in a fight, I would love to see Thor and Captain Marvel in a fight. I would love to see. I think that would be outstanding. Okay, anyway, what's next?
Ziki said so. Love the Endgame trailer. Were you surprised that we didn't see Captain Marvel in action during the trailer? For me, I'm happy with what we got.
Yeah, but look, I've been surprised that she wasn't in the first trailer. I really thought they were going to, as an added bonus to the publicity of the trailers, was try to pump and promote Captain Marvel the movie like they did for Black Panther. And they didn't. So I'm not surprised that she's in this spot. I am a little bit surprised they didn't show her doing anything more than they did, but that was a good shot they used. That was a charming kind of shot, Rob.
I will say this. You know what I want to see? I want to see Rocket and Goose wreck shop together.
If Goose is in it. I think there's a chance. It would now don't in the comics though. There's some like a little bit of
There is.
animosity.
I mean, there's a relationship between Chewie. In the comics, Goose is named Chewie, but Chewie has a relationship with Rocket that's very interesting. That I am sure, by the way, they will tap into.
It would be interesting to see if they do. All right, what's next?
Apex, hi guys. How big of a boost do you think Captain Marvel will receive thanks to this trailer? Do you think we'll only see Thanos in the first or third act of the film?
It's a possible for the Thanos thing. It's possible, but Robert, with the Captain Marvel thing, it's hard to say. Like her appearance in the trailer can do nothing but good things for the second weekend, but her lack of doing anything impressive, not even saying a line, like most of the characters in this trailers had no lines, but I don't know that it'll have a significant impact. Do you?
No, because the people that would get excited for her being in this trailer are already the people that have seen Captain Marvel. So I mean, if you've seen Captain Marvel, I would assume that you would understand that she was probably going to be in Endgame, especially if you saw Infinity War. And now that you know where the pager came from, you know that of course. But again, I think it just gets people that much more excited for the whole MCU. I mean, it was brilliant to drop this trailer the week after Captain Marvel opened, because if you weren't going to go to the second weekend of the movie, I think it makes my whole insides frothy with excitement even more. Like, I already went and saw Captain Marvel 3 times, but oh, look at this.
There's
Maybe
a t-shirt
I need to go
for
see
you.
it again.
Frothy. Robert Meyer Burnett. All right, what's next?
I can't think of a good username. What's with the red in the trailer?
Again, I suspect it's nothing more than just a really nice artistic decision to make for the trailer. Again, denoting what was past with what is now, with a little bit of flair to it. There might be a deeper meaning to that, but honestly, I don't think there is. Rob, do you?
No, I think it's just cool.
Yeah, I agree. Just cool. All right, what's next?
John Jordan, hi John. I love the Avengers Endgame trailer. I instantly went onto my Cineworld account to see when I can book tickets. Surprisingly, it advertises a runtime of 140 minutes. Are you surprised?
Well, okay, here's the thing, John Jordan. There are conflicting reports. Let's just say that. There are conflicting reports out there. Somebody took an image from Reddit that didn't look legit at all that said runtime 3 hours. And so you got everybody running around saying, it's official, it's 3 hours. It is not official, that's 3 hours. It might be 3 hours, it could. But that little thing that popped up in Reddit is not any sort of proof or evidence that it's going to be 3 hours. Then we've got some places right now saying 140 minutes, which is 2 hours and 20 minutes, which is a nice runtime. That's a good, solid
I want
runtime.
3 hours.
Who cares? I want the runtime that the Russos and Kevin Feige says this runtime makes the best movie. I don't want them to stretch it out more than that. I don't want them to shrink it more than that. And if 2 hours and 20 minutes to them makes the best movie, that's what I want. I have a feeling the truth is probably somewhere in between. It does seem to me that, especially when you look at the length they made Infinity War, it does seem to me that 2 hours and 20 minutes seems a bit short for what they've been going for. I wouldn't be surprised if it's 3 hours, but I think the truth is probably somewhere in between those two numbers, give or take a little bit. I don't know. Where do you think the final runtime is this thing? Because it very well could be 3 hours. What do you think it's going to be?
Yeah, I think it's going to be longer. I mean, not longer than 3 hours. I think it's going to be at least 2.5 hours or longer. I mean, they just have too much. Well, maybe they don't. I mean, maybe they're going to get in fast and hit hard and get out.
You just described my love life. Oh, I'm sorry. Anyway, sorry.
The thing is, we have no understanding of what this story is. And because they haven't, which I love, man, I love them for doing that to us, but I have no sense of what, I mean, maybe their story, they only have 2 hours to tell this story. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I am sure that this has probably been one of the most poured over films in cinema history, because if anybody needs to stick the landing, this is the 22nd movie. This is the end of Marvel Phase 3. It's the end of a decade's worth of buildup and character development and special effects technology and actors and directors. And I mean, if anyone needs to deliver something, it's them. And I don't envy the kind of pressure they all must be feeling.
I'm gonna say something that's gonna be a little bit controversial right here. I don't think they need to stick the landing. I think there's a lot of people who want them to stick the landing. I think it would be great if they stick the landing. I think they're trying very hard to stick the landing. this movie is going to make $1.5 billion if it's 10 minutes long. If people go in there and it's 10 minutes of Thor showing up going, Thanos, you ruined the universe. I'm sorry, I'll fix it. End credits. This movie will still make $1.5 billion. And it's not going to hurt the MCU all that much moving forward because they've had such a string of success. They should stick the ending. We want them. But I don't think it's like the MCU doesn't fall to pieces and destroy the fan base and all that kind of stuff if they don't stick the landing.
No, but as filmmakers, I mean, I'm just rooting for these guys as people I would aspire myself to be. I look up at them and I so want them to bring it home, man. I mean, I want to see. It's kind of like that Super Bowl when they didn't run the ball, when the Seahawks, Russell Wilson. I don't want to see them. I don't want to see Russell throw a pick,
throw an interception on the goal line.
I don't want that to happen, man. I want these guys to sail over I want on a punt return them to run down the field all the way and just stick it home into the end zone. And I want to just be grinning from ear to ear for the rest of my life. I want this to be more satisfying when they light the fires to send word to Rohan that Gondor needs aid. I want that to happen, John.
Okay,
I want that to happen.
I'm with you, but we got to move on. We still got like 5,000 more questions to go. Okay, what's next?
Apex Deadline says Captain Marvel needs $750 million to break even. True?
First of all, Ashley, find yourself a man who looks at you the way Robert and I look at Avengers Endgame. Anyway, no, Deadline did not say that. That is, go reread it again. Deadline did not say that. There's word going around right now, this ridiculous saying, Captain Marvel needs to make $750 million to break even. No, it does not. If Captain Marvel needed $750 million to break even, that meant that the production budget of Captain Marvel had to have been about $400 million.
And marketing, production and marketing.
Yeah, no, that is without marketing. It would have had to have cost $400 million without any marketing. That's when this movie would have needed $750 million to break even. This movie cost between $150 and $170 million. They spent between $100 and $120 million. This movie needs to make around $420, maybe $450 to break even. There's this laughable fiction.
Which, by the way, it already has.
Yeah, which it already has by far. There's this laughable fiction. Look, the basic thing is this. There are some people so desperate for Captain Marvel to fail that they're willing to say anything no matter how ludicrous it is. And just ignore it and move on. All right, what's next?
I realize, you guys, that you don't need coffee. You just need Endgame trailers. And then you guys are good to go for the week. True. John Jordan, Steve rises up, straps on the shield. Avengers assemble. Orgasm.
Did you guys ever see...
You're not wrong.
What was the name of it? The Happy Time Murders. The movie, the comedy that was just out with the puppets?
I did not.
Okay. Did you see the trailers for it?
Yes.
All right. That's all you need. There's a scene in the trailer where two puppets are having sex in an office and the one puppet has his orgasm. Ah! And you see the white spray foam going everywhere. Yeah. Captain America straps on the shield. If he then says the words, Avengers Assemble, you're going to have movie theaters across America replaying out that scene from Happy Time Murders everywhere. All I can say is do not envy and be kind to your theater janitorial staff because they're going to have a bloody mess on their hands. If Captain Marvel straps on that shield and says, Avengers Assemble, it's over. It's just done. It's done. We're just completely gone. Anyway, now that I've painted that marvelous mental picture in your heads for the rest of the day.
All over the walls.
All over the walls. What's next?
Moving on, Dominic Francis. Thought trailer was good. Didn't get me more hyped. Maybe because I was already super hyped. Love Rocket on Rhodey's shoulders and Cap with his shield. Sorry.
Hey, yeah, totally understandable about that. There is just such a thing that there are so many people that are already so hyped that it almost doesn't matter what they showed us in these trailers now. You're not going to get more hype because I'm already at maximum hype. There's a lot of us who are like really excited, and every time we see something new, we get a little bit more excited. And some people were already at that ceiling just when they said the words Endgame, right?
I'm Spinal Tap hyped. I'm at 11.
11.
I'm at 11.
It goes to 11. Yeah, so I'm not surprised by that. And again, this wasn't exactly a boom trailer, right? This wasn't a traditionally exciting trailer. By traditional methodologies that we'd look at a trailer, say, was that an exciting trailer? Traditionally, no, this was not an exciting trailer. But for the MCU, it was just tailored to this specific movie in this specific franchise for this specific story. And on that level, it was very emotionally impactful. And I got a big kick out of it. But yeah,
I call it it's an Al Pacino trailer.
Ooh.
Because it's like hearing Al Pacino give a speech in any movie he gives speeches in. Like when he gives the speech, we fight for every inch in any given Sunday. He gives that like 3-minute speech to rally his team. I felt like this trailer was like an Al Pacino speech.
Ooh-ah. All right.
Yeah.
What's next?
Elam Rem. Thor looks deeply in Captain Marvel's eyes. He summons his phallus-shaped object. She doesn't blink. He smiles and says, I like this one. Love game.
You know what? It's crazy how many people I've been seeing like doing, I ship Thor and Captain Marvel. Why? Why do you need to have a love? You don't need some stupid love story. You don't need some stupid love story. Now, I will grant you this. There would be something there because right there you are looking at two beings so powerful that it might be the only time, other than when Thor is looking across the arena at Hulk, it might be the only time that either of these two characters are standing in a room and looking into the eyes of someone who is truly their equal. And it's the same reason why I've always bought into the Superman-Wonder Woman relationship that they pushed in the comics for a while. Because I get it. Wonder Woman's so powerful, she's never met a man that could almost be considered her equal. Superman, same thing. And on that level, I get it. So I get it, but we don't need a romance in this movie. Half the world, half the universe has been killed. Do we really need to get butterflies in our stomachs about, oh, this could be the special someone? I don't think so. I hope they don't. I really hope they don't. I don't mind playful banter, but I don't think we're going to go into a romance between these two. Do you, Rob?
Not in this movie. I mean, they could set it up. Look, these movies are surprisingly chaste for what they are. And I understand why they're appealing in their 4-quadrant films. I mean, they're basically, made for family audiences. And while they can get away with innuendo, so the older audiences, know, I don't think that there's romance happening in these films. They don't need them. I mean, I love like what they've done. They've done some very mature things like the Banner Natasha relationship.
Yeah, great.
They've gotten into things where it doesn't have to be explicit, doesn't have to be necessarily overt, but mature. I mean, it's not shipping is so snicker, I'm 14 and let me write a note and pass it to you in class. I mean, it's so,
which could be fun.
Well, yeah, it can be fun, but it's like I prefer a little bit more emotional and social maturity on that level. And yeah, I guess, I mean, look, people are still shipping Mulder and Scully, and then they finally got together. So what do I know?
All right. What's next?
I can't think of a good username. There's no way all that footage is from the first 15 minutes.
No chance in hell. Kevin Feige made a statement very famously a while ago saying, all the marketing for these movies are going to come from the first 15, 20 minutes of the movie. Not true. There's just no way. They don't set up all these different characters with their setups with, Nebula and Tony in space and blah, blah, blah. And then the big action sequences. By the way, whatever the action sequence that is with Cap, it looks like it's got a similar background to the one Ant-Man is in. We know he doesn't come around until a little bit later. There is just no way that what Kevin Feige said was actually true, that it's only the first 15 to 20. Maybe he meant that for the first couple of spots. Maybe I'd buy into that. But I just don't think, Rob, do you think there's any chance that everything we just saw in this trailer was just from the first 15 or 20 minutes?
No, I don't think Rocket and Rhodey was, nor do I think that the Captain America grimace on his face and whatever's going on with Scott Lang jumping off a pencil or whatever it was that's happening. I don't think that's from the first 20 minutes. I think the first 20 minutes are going to be more sad. We're going to see you've got to open and show what the decimation, what the snap really did to the universe.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised if we open and we see various places that we've seen before, like maybe Xandar, because we know that Thanos destroyed Xandar a week before Infinity War started or whatever, but we could see or maybe it's just on Earth where we see a montage of how the world has been affected and how, maybe it'll just open up and with a card that says 3 years later.
Yeah.
And you just see the overgrowth everywhere. And then I think the first thing we're going to see is Scott Lang. We might see Hawkeye get dusted at the beginning, but then I think one of the first things we'll see is Scott Lang emerging. Yeah, Hawkeye's daughter, and we'll see Scott Lang emerging from the quantum realm. Like, that's how they'll bookend whatever the opening is. They'll show us the world being snapped away. They'll show us the time that's passed, and then they'll show us Scott Lang emerging somehow from the quantum realm, and then the movie will begin. Then we'll see more.
What's next?
Muse Tech Reviews. Hey, John and Rob, thoughts on Gotham Season 5?
Have not watched it yet.
Yeah, I'm
Gotham's
behind.
Gotham's just too hit and miss with me that I haven't had it high on my priority list. I will get around to watching it at some point, but we just haven't watched it yet.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Apex, what if the trailer was, you'll watch this movie 3 times, why bother? 2, what if John and Daenerys' child is the prince who was promised?
Well, I don't know about, and we're all just focusing on the Game of Thrones thing. I mean, there are so many wild potential things that could be coming out in Game of Thrones. I don't know that both of them I don't think John and Khaleesi are both making it to the end of this thing. I really don't.
I agree with you. By the way, it's the 14th. We are 1 month away.
Woo!
1 month away today, ladies and gentlemen.
It's coming.
April 14th. It's winter's coming. Winter's here for the last time. Woo-hoo!
All right. What's next?
Krypton Cage, the quantum realm time travel suits look beautiful. Do you think Captain will die in this movie? And they do the whole funeral scene with all the Avengers and America honoring him, death of Soups style.
No, I've said this before. I will say it again. Everybody always said that Cap is going to die in Winter Soldier. And I said, no, he won't. And he didn't. Then everybody said he was absolutely going to die in Civil War. And I said, no, he won't. And they said, but he dies in the comic books at the end of Civil War. I'm telling you, Captain America ain't going to die at the end of Civil War. And he didn't. Then everybody said Captain America was going to die in Infinity War. And he didn't. Now everybody's saying he's going to die in Endgame. Is it possible? It's possible. I still don't think so. But I wouldn't put money on that. Like, I think there is a very valid chance that's what happens, but I still don't think so. Rob? I mean, eventually it has to happen, but I don't think so. Do you think he's going to die in this, Rob?
No, you know what I think is going to happen? I think there's going to be, if I had to guess, being a lifelong comic book reader, I think there's going to be some kind of cataclysmic, universe-altering, I don't know, call it an energy wave, whatever. It's going to be some massive reality-altering event that's going to erase what we've known and then put it back together. So they basically reset the universe somehow. I have no idea, but that's just being a savvy reader of these things. I would think something along those lines will happen, but I don't know.
What's next?
Angry Irish Benjamin, I disagree with your assertion that making Magneto black would be a better move because of logic holes. If the movies are good, no one will care about things like that. It would be better to focus on making good stories.
Well, the problem with what you're saying there, Irish Benjamin, though, is that you're pretending like the two are mutually exclusive things. Like you're saying it's either they make it. By the way, what Angry Irish is talking about is that I propose like Magneto would be too old now, like to make new X-Men movies, to say Magneto came up in the concentration camps and all that kind of stuff. It's just too much time has passed. He can't. But you need him to be a character that comes out of some type of life situation and circumstance that showed him the worst of humanity, right? And I kind of theorized that, hey, there's a lot of different ways that you then make a Magneto character or black characters, because there's a lot of atrocities that have happened both in America and, in African nations and all that kind of stuff, that you could do that. So you still have the heart of what Magneto is, but it's just a different story because it's too old. So, but what you're saying here, Iris, is by saying, you shouldn't do that. You should focus on making a good story. Well, why can't you do that and it be a good story? Like again, my problem with what you're saying is that you're making it sound like the two are mutually exclusive propositions. It's like saying, you shouldn't, in the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie, you shouldn't not have Spider-Man in it. You should focus on making a good story. Well, you can have Spider-Man not in it and still focus on making a good story. The two are not mutually exclusive things. Now, I don't know that they're going to go with a black Magneto or whatever, but you do have to change the story a little bit. You have to change. That's just what time has done. We don't want to have at this point a 90-year-old Magneto,
right?
So I just don't think that that's the way they're going to go. Rob, do you have any thought on that?
No, I think you're right. We've talked about this a lot, and I think they're going to have to reconceptualize that whole idea, because just like you said, unless the only other fix is that mutants can age slower, they can say that
Right, which they've never said or suggested before. So, I mean, yeah, anyway. All right, what's next?
I can't think of a good username. Looks like those reports about I know Captain Marvel cut isn't true.
I'm not quite sure exactly what reports you're talking about.
People have been saying that if Captain Marvel flopped, they have a Captain Marvel version of Endgame.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah. That was such... Okay,
bunk.
the level of stupidity you have to believe that. Because, oh, yeah, Marvel, oh, no, we don't know what's going to happen. We're so reactionary. Oh, we don't know where we're going. You have to be a special kind of dumb to have ever bought into that idea. That is the most ludicrous, idiotic thing I'd ever seen. Not even worth us wasting another breath on. Not even worth us wasting another breath on. All right, what's next?
Apex. RDJ reprises as Tony in F4 movie, if still alive.
I don't know. They've already kind of gone to the well with that, right? They use the Tony Stark character to bring in Spider-Man and kind of be, what's the word, a chaperone character, if you will, to usher in Spider-Man in. They've gone to that well already. If they want to use the same type of approach, I think you do it with a different character. Tony is a scientific mind. That does make sense, but you can do Banner, can know Reed Richards. There are several other characters that you have. Maybe Shuri knows Reed Richards, because maybe he's the only intellect that kind of rivals hers or something like that.
Yeah,
Rob,
I mean,
you got any thoughts?
I think Reed Richards could be the new front man of the Fantastic Four. Of the MCU. The same way that Tony Stark and Iron Man have sort of carried us through this first decade. I think Reed Richards, depending on who they cast, and they're going to have to cast a really charismatic, great actor. They're going to need to put somebody, it'll be a whole different vibe than Tony Stark. He'll be much more earnest. He's going to be a cross between Captain America and Tony Stark somehow in terms of personality, but I could see that happening. And like you said, he has a relationship with Shuri already. He knows Banner. You know, he's a guy that comes to the forefront because he's just a scientist, but then he gets affected by the gamma radiation or the cosmic rays or whatever, and then becomes part of this. And I could even see him going to Banner after he becomes affected by whatever he's going to be affected by and ask, like, give me a little insight, Hulk.
Yeah, but we just don't see that being Tony, though, right? We just don't see that being Tony.
No, I know. I think Reed could be the new leader of the MCU.
All right, let's move on here. What's next?
Tyreek Sandu, can you tell me why Star Wars had such a profound effect on so many people and multi-generations?
Tarek, you just asked us to sit down and do a 4-hour dissertation. I'm not going to do that. On the most basic and surface of levels, it was unlike anything the world had seen before coming out of a movie that captured the imagination of a fairy tale and a sci-fi epic action adventure thing with visual effects the world had never seen and concepts put together in that type of genre that nobody had ever seen that just found a way to stick into the hearts and minds and imagination of an entire generation. Rob, how would you answer that?
John, I think that was a very fine answer.
Yeah.
I gotta go. I think exactly the same, and I think it also taps into something that's primal in all of us, that's innate in humanity, and that's why it survives year after year, generation after generation. I mean, we're almost a half a century into Star Wars. It's amazing.
And and George tapped into, like, on the most basic level, George saw the power in tapping into the most basic mechanisms of human storytelling, good versus evil, the old passing on to the young. And he took those things, he took a lot of influence from old Westerns, from Kurosawa, from a lot of different things and melded that in. And the results were Star Wars. All right, I'm going to sneeze. What's next?
Bless you. Moose Talk Reviews, is there time travel involved in Endgame?
I mean, if I knew that, then somebody would come to arrest me. Because
I'll give you an over-under. My over is, I think, over 50%. There is, in fact, some kind of time travel involved in Endgame.
I'll take but barely. I maybe would go 52%. So I'll take the over on 50 as well, but not by much. I still think there's a lot of other possibilities that we're not even just considering. But I do think the most likely scenario is time travel, but I think it could be something else. All right, what's next?
Conjecture. Hey, John, Rob, and Ashley, help our fantasy film book gamers. Vegas Sportsbook meets Hollywood box office. Pick this week top matchup. Captain Marvel versus Wonder Park. Spread is negative 60 million, and total is 84 million.
I'll take those numbers. I don't see Wonder Park cracking 10. I honestly, I don't see. I think that 60 spread is probably pretty safe. I really don't see anybody talking about or being interested in Wonder Park. And maybe it'll do well. And here's hoping for Paramount's sake it does. But I've heard terrible things about it. They've had a lot of drama surrounding it. And I just, like I said, I don't see it cracking 10 million. But hey, it is opening when Captain Marvel's going into its second week. Not a lot of other competition. Maybe it could, but I'll take that spread. I think the spread covers. What do you think, Rob?
I will too. I will too. Captain
Yeah.
Marvel's going to win the day.
By the way, Fanjecture, that sounds like a fun league. I'd like to know more about that. Email me. Tell me some more about that league because that sounds like a lot of fun. Okay, what's next?
Avenge the Chicken. I blocked out my entire weekend, so when Endgame comes out, no one will come looking for me. My butt will be super glued in the theater seat.
Dude, I'm telling you what, when these tickets go on sale, I am going to have a hard time not just spending every available dollar I have at my disposal at that time of like booking 3 screenings on Thursday night, or maybe 1 screening Thursday night, 3 screenings on Friday, 3 screenings on Saturday, 3 screenings on Sunday. Now, hopefully I'm going to see it like 2 or 3 times before the film even opens. I'm hoping, fingers crossed. Hopefully I'm going to see it in the first week of April because I'm hoping they're going to screen it at CinemaCon. I think they are going to. But I mean, yeah, man, I think you're speaking for a lot of us, Avengers Chicken. I think a lot of us, Rob, I know I'm not even going to bother trying to text you, call you, nothing that first weekend.
Yeah, I mean, between going to see Endgame all weekend and watching the next episode of Game of Thrones, man, I mean, what a weekend that's going to be.
Yeah, that's it. You're going to take a brief reprieve from the movie theaters just to shoot home quick, watch Game of Thrones, drink something, get back to the movie theater.
It's funny. I like to go to the Cinerama Dome in Hollywood, and when Age of Ultron opened, for some reason I'd seen a screening, but I always like to go with fans, and
too.
I couldn't get their opening night early, but they were even showing it at 2:30 in the morning. So I went and saw Age of Ultron at 2:30 in the morning because I can.
And yeah, because it's just the right thing to do.
If there's 24-hour screenings, I think I might just have to hit a marathon and watch it however many times I can in one day.
All right. What's next?
Nerds. Ben Rainer. Theory, in the first trailer, we see Thor off alone. Well, theory is, what if he's not alone and Captain Marvel is with him? Digitally took her out, whatever it takes.
I don't see, look, it very well could be possible that Captain Marvel is with him and you didn't need to digitally take her out. That was just one shot. Like, it could be that they come through some kind of, they come out of the Bifrost, he steps forward first, and that shot is just of him stepping forward first. He's composed right in the middle of the shot. So it's very possible that Captain Marvel is with him, but she is not digitally taken out of the shot because it is just one quick shot. Mm-hmm. Right? That's all it really was. So he could be there, or she could be there, and not in that one particular shot. She could be off to the side, whatever. So there, I'll take an over 50% that she's there with him. But I will take an under 50% that she was also in that one shot and they digitally took her out. I don't see there being a need to do that. It's not, I wouldn't put it past them. I'm just saying I don't see the need to do that. So I don't know, Rob, what do you think?
I think you're right. I mean, I don't necessarily think she's going to be in that shot. I mean, she could be there with him. Sure. Maybe they're the ones that rescue Nebula and Stark from space because they are, after all, coming back from Titan. And there's only, if you're going back to Earth, that they would be on course. And they're probably, I'm sure there's a homing beacon, but I don't know. Again, I don't even want to speculate anymore because we're getting the movie. I don't care. I just want to see the finished film, which I know I'm going to get to see unless I get hit by a bus, in which case I'm going to be really pissed.
All right, let's move on here. What's next?
Christopher Benson. It's a damn shame what they did to that dog.
I don't know.
The
which quote sounds familiar, but I can't place it. I mean, it sounds like something that maybe came out of Alita. Because I don't want to go into much for people who haven't seen Alita. But
I'm
going to go with Alita.
Yeah, the little dog. Yes.
Yeah, I'm going to go with
Alita.
Alita. There, we're going to go with Alita on that. All right, what's next?
Avenge the Chicken. I feel like jokes will be limited in Endgame.
I don't know. The Russos love taking serious and then peppering in humor to never let the mood get too heavy. And when you're talking about an atmosphere that's going to be as heavy as post-decimation, I don't think there's going to be yuck through it, but I think we're going to see a good amount of humor in there too, just to keep the tone from getting too heavy.
Plus, I mean, if you talk to soldiers, if you know anybody in the military, those are some darkly, sardonically funny people. The soldiers can come up with really funny things to say, even in the midst of darkness.
Yeah. All right. What's next?
Brian Esparza, there were a whole lot of no Hulk in this trailer.
True, no Hulk, but we did see Bruce. I mean, so it's not like, Banner's not. We saw Banner. I think, like I said, I have nothing to base this on, just pure fan speculation as a fan. I still believe we're getting one more trailer. And I believe we are going to see Hulk in that trailer. Also,
maybe Hulk's, once he's in his Hulk form, everything we see Hulk doing, it's a spoiler.
Yeah, I mean that's also true too. They gotta be careful, but I do think we're gonna get one more, and I think we're gonna see Hulk again. Nothing but pure fan speculation on my part. All right, what's next?
Celadon Sound. Why does War Machine need a matching white and red paint job? Don't you think we have more pressing matters to attend to, guys?
If you're gonna do something, look good doing it. I think that's the important thing here. Look good doing it.
All of that's quantum. That's all quantum realm suiting. So if whatever you're going to take into the quantum realm with you, those suits are generating whatever is needed to get you into the quantum realm.
Because what he's pointing out is that like everybody else looks like they have a standard quantum realm suit on, except for War Machine. He's clearly in his War Machine armor that's just had a paint job. At least that's what it looks like.
No, they would redesign that armor so he could go into the quantum realm. I'm sure Stark has the same thing.
But it doesn't look like it because, magic nanotechnology. Right. Yeah, I mean, that could be it too. But remember, it's more important to look good than to feel good. Billy Crystal, ladies and gentlemen. Betty Crystal. All right, what's next?
Tariq, I'm a Marvel person and never got into DC because DC is not my thing. Why is there so much hatred between Marvel and DC between some supporters?
Okay, again, Tariq, you're asking questions that take a 4-hour dissertation to really actually get into. Look, all I will say is this. A shallow level of fandom believes that to love something, you need to hate the other thing. There are like most fans, we define ourselves by what we love. However, there is the shallow end of the gene pool and a very like the toxic corners of fandom where instead of defining ourselves by what we love, we define ourselves by what we hate. So there is this backwards thinking toxic belief that to be a DC fan means I must hate Marvel. To be a Marvel fan means I must hate DC. And neither are true. It's fine that you happen to prefer one much more over the other. There's nothing wrong with that, but you're not defined by it. And unfortunately, like I said, there is in the shallow end of the gene pool this belief that in order to be a fan of this means you must hate that. And that's just something that has infiltrated our fandom and needs to be purged out because it's okay to not like something. It's totally fine to not like something, but don't be defined by that. Don't dislike something because you believe that as a fan of this other thing requires you to do this. Because it's ludicrous and ridiculous. Real fans just want good comic book movies. So, anyway, there you go. All right, what's next?
Celadon Sound. Quinjet plus Tokyo Skyline is beautiful.
I'll tell you what, Caledon, was it a Quinjet or was it a Wakandan jet? I'll have to go back and look at it again. I'll be honest with you, I didn't look really carefully. Maybe it's clearly a Quinjet. But I remember the first time I watched it, I thought maybe it was a Koye going somewhere. I thought maybe it was a Wakandan jet. Again, I don't know. Do you have what was your first guess, Rob? Is Quinjet?
I don't know. I don't know. It's all, and I'm not even speculating. I just watch this and go, okay, I get excited for it, but I don't even like theories and all that. To me, it's so silly because it doesn't matter what your theory is. It doesn't affect what you're going to get in the movie. So
but it's fun. It is fun to speculate.
It is fun to speculate. It is fun to speculate. But now I'm beyond that. I don't want to speculate anymore.
I'll tell you what. Quicksilver's on that Quinjet. There you go. That's my fan theory. I don't really believe that. Okay, what's next?
Patrick Conway, Hawkeye with his daughter, Captain and Thor looking a beast. Also, them hiding Hulk from the trailer and official poster makes me so hyped for him.
I'm telling you what, cry time. That whole, I am telling you, the first 10 minutes of this movie, it's going to be cry time across the theater, not because of the trillions who lost their lives, but because of the one little girl, that proud Papa Hawkeye sitting there showing her bow and arrow. He's sitting there bow and arrow and he's thinking in his head about when he's going to drive her to her senior prom and drop her off and watch her walk away with a little flower on her wrist. And then he's going to dream a little bit further ahead about walking her down the aisle at her wedding. And he's going to be seeing all these things, and then she dusts and tears and crying and bawling, and grown men and women across America becoming emotional messes. It's cry time, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be cry time. Anyway, Your thought, Rob?
Yes. Like Dr. Dealgood and Beyond Thunderdome. Crying times here.
Crying time. All right. What's next?
Josh Quick. Hey, John, what underdog movie will make $1 billion in 2019?
I don't know that there are any because, look, Lion King is no underdog. Endgame is no underdog. Star Wars is no underdog. Dumbo ain't going to make $1 billion, so I don't think that would be an underdog, but I don't think it's going to make $1 billion. I don't think you can call Spider-Man Far From Home an underdog when the last one almost made $900 million on its own, and it's going to be coming off of Endgame, so I can't really call that an underdog. I don't know. Rob, do you got a dark horse $1 billion maker this year?
No, I don't. I think 2019 is pretty much squared away and sorted.
Squared away and sorted. What
Squared
about Aladdin?
Away and sorted.
You know, a lot of people seem to love Aladdin. You know what? Maybe Josh, I'll say Aladdin, because while I was not a big fan of the newest Aladdin trailer, it's certainly the best one that they put out, but I didn't like the Aladdin trailer. Almost everybody else did. And everybody else is speaking a lot more positively of Aladdin today than they were a week ago. And I don't think it'll make $1 billion, so that makes it a dark horse, so that makes it an underdog. I'll say, if I had to pick one, I'll say Aladdin. Aladdin might be the one. What about you, Rob?
Yeah, it could be. I mean, there's a lot of people that are primed to see this movie, but you know, we now talk about $1 billion. Like, nah, it's pretty good, but it's not the biggest thing in the world.
It's like it's
$1 billion for a movie. There's only, if you think about it, the population on the Earth is only, and movie going only sustains so much.
Yeah.
So $1 billion is still quite an extraordinary feat.
And I still don't think there are even 40 members of the $1 Billion Club in the history of Hollywood,
of humanity,
with hundreds of films coming out every year. I think there's under 40 that are in that club.
Yep.
I mean, it's a ridiculous number. All right, we only got time for a couple more. So what's next?
Alan Connor, haven't really been moved by the Endgame trailers, but I'm seeing the movie anyway, so the less they show, the better.
Yeah, I listen again. These trailers that they have put out so far have been tailor-made to those who are already invested in the MCU. I just don't think there's a lot that's been put into these trailers that are for the on-the-fence fans. And that's fine, because I still believe we're going to get a Boom trailer that'll be for the wider mass audience. Although a lot of people are into the MCU films as it is as well. But again, even when they show us the Boom trailer, like they gave us several Boom trailers for Infinity War, I still don't think it's going to be revealing a lot. I think they're going to give us a lot of stuff to get our heart pumping, but I don't think it's going to be stuff that ultimately reveals too much. So that's what I think about that. Rob, what about you?
Well, yeah, it's funny. I'm like, a trailer is a trailer. You know, this idea, we now have this idea that a trailer is supposed to be as entertaining as the film itself. You know, I think that this movie, this trailer especially, is all about the characters. It's reminding you of, you've watched these people for 10 years. You've seen them go through the most horrible ordeal ever, and half the universe has now disappeared, and we're going to rally behind them, and we're going to fight with them. We don't know what that fight's going to be, but we're certainly going to be there to stand behind our heroes and our friends.
I agree. All right, let's just take two more here. What's next?
Celadon Sound. Thor is going for the head this time.
Well, I'm not even so sure there is going to be a big epic fight with Thanos. I'm still not sure. But if there is, and I'm sure Robert's dog has a theory on this, but if there is, I think you're right. He goes, and there's going to be some quippy one-liner. I think there's going to be some quippy one-liner from Thor, certainly, about that. And I think he'll go for that. All right, final question of the day. What's next?
Last one is from Bryan Esparza. Also surprised, no tickets on sale now.
No, I'm not surprised. Again, I don't know that this is for sure a fact, but I think it's fairly credible that it's going to come out on April 2nd. I don't know that for certain, but I think that those reports were fairly credible. So that being the case, I'm not surprised we didn't get a tickets on sale now. This wasn't that type of trailer that ends with tickets on sale now anyway. It's a Boom kind of trailer that you end with get tickets now. And I still think that's going to happen on April 2nd. Again, I might be totally wrong. I have no insider information. That's just me as a fan, like you guys at home speculating. But that's what could be happening. Okay, listen, guys. There are a whole lot of other questions that have come in. Obviously, today, a lot of people want to talk about this stuff. Everything from Koba, AG Systems, all the way down. There's a lot of people who sent in chat questions. Don't you worry. even though we've run out of time for the John Campea Show right now, I'm going to make a companion video where I'm going to answer all of those questions that got sent in a little bit later today. So keep your eyes open. I'll put that video up in maybe just a couple hours. Keep your eyes open. That will be coming up soon. All right. That will do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you guys so much for being here. I want to thank, first of all, the people joining me here, Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett. Robert, where can people find you online?
Well, probably in a padded cell to keep myself safe so nothing happens to me before I can see Endgame. But if you want to follow me on Twitter, you can at BurnettRM. Find me on Instagram at RMBurnett. Find me on my own YouTube channel, The Burnett Work, or my website, theburnettwork.net.
And, of course, Ashley Whalen's here. Ashley, where can people find you?
You guys can find me on my Twitter at AshAttack1 or my Instagram is Ashley Whalen. It's 2 Y's in my first name.
And you guys can, of course, follow me on Instagram simply at John Campea. Make sure you go check out www.thejohncampeashow.com and go to the contact section if you want one of your topics to possibly be one of the main topics that we cover here on this show, and maybe you'll see your topic pop up. All right, guys, that will do it for us. Don't forget, 4 o'clock this afternoon, that's Pacific Standard Time. That'll be 7 p.m. East Coast time. You figure out what that is in your own local time zone. We're going to be doing a Avengers Endgame speculation video, live taking your guys' thoughts, opinions, speculation now that we've seen this new trailer. What theories have been kind of confirmed? What theories have been destroyed? What new ideas kind of pop up? We're going to talk about that later this afternoon. That'll do it for us, guys. Thanks so much for being here. My name's John Campea, and until our next video, bye-bye.